Everywhere you turn, modern life bombards you with demands, endless notifications, overwhelming workloads, and constant pressures that leave you feeling scattered and drained. But what if the chaos around you didn't have to dictate your peace of mind? 2,000 years ago, ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius faced their own storms, political turmoil, personal loss, even the weight of an empire, and yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. That same power is available to you today. Stoicism isn't just a philosophy of the past. It's a practical toolkit for thriving in our frenetic world. Over the next 24 lessons, we'll uncover how to disarm chaos with clarity, turn obstacles into opportunities, and cultivate unshakable calm no matter what life throws your way. Whether you're drowning in distractions, battling burnout, or simply seeking steadier ground, these timeless principles will help you reclaim control from the inside out. Ready to begin? Let's explore the first lesson. What if you could cut your stress in half just by understanding where your real power lies? This is the essence of the Stoic dichotomy of control, one of the most practical tools for modern life. The ancient teacher Epictetus put it simply, some things are within our power while others are not. Your thoughts, choices, and responses entirely yours. The weather, other people's opinions, or the stock market, not so much. Picture this, you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Horns blare, your grip tightens on the wheel, but the cars won't move faster because you're frustrated. The Stoic approach: recognize you can't control the traffic, but you can control how you react. Use the delay to listen to a podcast, call a friend, or simply breathe. The moment you shift focus from what you can't change to what you can, the stress loses its grip. Epictetus once said, "Happiness and freedom begin with one principle: some things are up to us and some are not." Today, take a sheet of paper and draw 2 columns. On one side, list worries you have no control over, like a past mistake or a boss's mood. On the other, write what you can influence: your preparation, your attitude, your next step. Just this act of sorting trains your mind to invest energy where it actually matters. The next time frustration bubbles up, pause and ask, is this within my control? If not, let it go like a leaf floating down a river. If it is, take action without wasting a drop of energy on the rest. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that for a moment. How much of your stress comes from fighting what's already happened, wishing a situation were different, replaying mistakes, or resenting an unexpected setback? The Stoics called this resistance the root of unnecessary pain, and they offered a radical alternative: Amor Fati, the love of fate. This isn't about pretending everything is fine or slapping on a fake smile, what some today call toxic positivity. Amor Fati runs deeper. It's about fully accepting what life hands you, then asking, how can this serve me? The philosopher Nietzsche, though not a Stoic, captured it perfectly. My formula for greatness is Amor Fati, to love what is necessary, to crave nothing different. Take Marcus Aurelius, ruling Rome during a brutal plague that killed millions. Instead of crumbling under despair, he used the crisis to refine his leadership, writing in his journals, "The obstacle becomes the way." What if he'd spent his energy raging against the impossible? History would remember him very differently. Here's the challenge for you. Look back at a recent frustration, a missed opportunity, a difficult person, even a failure. What if you saw it not as a stroke of bad luck, but as a hidden assignment? Maybe that job rejection freed you for a better path. Maybe that argument revealed a boundary you needed to set. Amor Fati turns life's sharpest edges into tools for growth. Try this today. When something goes wrong, pause and say aloud, "This too is for me." Then watch how the weight shifts from victim to victor. The Stoics knew fate doesn't ask for your permission, but your response. That's where your power lies. Did you know that over 40% of adults in industrialized nations will struggle with an anxiety disorder at some point in their lives? Much of that comes from our desperate attempts to avoid discomfort, a reflex the Stoics dismantled with a counterintuitive tool called Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. At first glance, it sounds grim, but this practice isn't about pessimism, it's about inoculation. By deliberately imagining challenges before they happen, you strip fear of its surprise attack and uncover hidden reservoirs of resilience. Seneca put it bluntly, what is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster. The Stoics didn't dwell on worst-case scenarios to torment themselves. They did it to rehearse their response like a fire drill for the mind. Picture this, you're about to ask for a raise. Instead of fixating on the perfect pitch, spend 5 minutes visualizing your boss saying no. Not to spiral into worry, but to ask, then what? Maybe you'd refine your skills, explore new opportunities, or negotiate differently. Suddenly, the sting of rejection loses its power because you've already traced the path forward. Marcus Aurelius took this further with the reserve clause, adding, fate permitting to every plan. When you set out to do something, he wrote, remind yourself what nature the action has. Booking a vacation, I'll travel to Spain, fate permitting. Starting a business, I'll launch this venture if nothing prevents me. This simple mental footnote keeps ambition and acceptance in balance. You aim high, but you don't hinge your peace on outcomes you can't control. Here's how to put this into practice today. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Visualize one challenge you're avoiding, a hard conversation, a financial setback, even a personal loss. Don't just skim the surface, sit with the details. How would you think, act, and adapt if it happened? Then flip the script, note what you still have. Your health, your relationships, your ability to choose. That's the alchemy of negative visualization. It doesn't just prepare you for storms, it makes you grateful for the ground beneath your feet. The Stoic secret isn't expecting the worst, it's knowing that even if it comes, you've already walked through it in your mind. And that changes everything. Here's the next segment of your script. There's one notification your phone will never deliver, but the Stoics insisted you keep it front of mind, Memento Mori. Remember, you must die. At first, this sounds morbid, even jarring, but this ancient practice wasn't about fear, it was about focus. The Romans would place a skull on the banquet table during feasts, not to kill the mood, but to heighten it. A whisper in the revelry, don't waste this. Marcus Aurelius turned this into a daily ritual. In his journals, he wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Not as a threat, but as a lens. Imagine holding that lens over your ordinary Tuesday. Would you refresh your feed for the 10th time or call someone you love? Would you nurse that grudge or dissolve it? Mortality strips away the trivial and leaves only what's real. Modern life, though, runs on distraction. We bury the thought of death under infinite scrolls and back-to-back meetings, as if avoiding the subject makes us immortal. The irony, avoiding the end doesn't lengthen life, it shrinks its meaning. The Stoics flipped the script. By keeping mortality close, they expanded time. Every hour became precious precisely because it couldn't be reclaimed. Here's the challenge. Set a daily alarm labeled Memento Mori. When it rings, ask, if today were my last, would I spend it this way? Not to spiral into existential dread, but to course correct. That inbox can wait, the sunset or your child's laughter can't. This isn't about cramming life with bucket list extremes, it's about savoring the ordinary with awake eyes. As Seneca warned, you act like mortals in all you fear and like immortals in all you desire. Death isn't life's opposite, it's its compass, And the sooner you stop pretending otherwise, the louder your joy, your purpose, even your quietest moments will speak. One of the most profound shifts in human perspective came not from philosophy, but from spaceflight. Astronauts call it the overview effect, the staggering moment when they gaze back at Earth from orbit and suddenly see national borders, conflicts, and daily stresses as vanishingly small against the cosmic scale. That all you hear in their voices, the Stoics were chasing the same clarity 2 millennia earlier with an exercise called the view from above. Marcus Aurelius perfected this. In his meditations, he described zooming out mentally first above his city, then his country, finally the earth itself, until his troubles looked no more significant than a blade of grass in a vast meadow. What feels earth-shattering in the moment, a rude comment, a missed promotion, shrinks to near invisibility when you pull back far enough. Epictetus drove this home with a question. In the sweep of time, how long will this matter? Next time social media envy gnaws at you or office politics feel suffocating, try this. Picture your building from a drone's view, then your city from space, then the pale blue dot of Earth from Mars. That co-worker's snide remark, that influencer's curated highlight reel, they're not just small, they're temporary. Here's the experiment. Pick one stressor weighing on you right now. Maybe it's a confrontation you're dreading or a comparison making you restless. Now mentally fast forward 10 years. Will this still ache? Will it even register? The view from above doesn't dismiss your feelings, it liberates them from false urgency. As Seneca wrote, most tormenting things are more in opinion than in reality. The cosmos doesn't care about your inbox notifications, and that's the gift. When you stop treating trivial things as tragedies, you save your energy for what truly deserves it. So tonight, step outside, look up, let the stars remind you you're standing on a speck spinning in infinity. How light your worries become when held against the sky. There's something paradoxical about opening a sleek journaling app only to stare at a blinking cursor, unsure what to type beyond a generic "I'm grateful for coffee." Compare that to Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most powerful men, who filled his private notebooks with raw self-interrogations. Why do you shrink from the task? What's the pain in it? What's the alternative? Never living fully. The difference: modern journaling often skims the surface while Stoic writing drills deep. Forget vague positivity. The Stoics used their pages as a training ground. Every morning they'd set intentions like a general plotting a campaign. Every night they'd conduct fearless reviews, asking, where did I stumble today? What fears held me back? And between those lines, they'd wrestle with wisdom from past thinkers, turning quotes into personal challenges. Seneca didn't just collect insights, he tested them in real time, then wrote friends detailed letters dissecting the results. His correspondence was journaling with witnesses. Try this 3-part template tonight. First, the evening review, not just what went well, but where did I compromise my values today? Did I confuse what's urgent with what's important? Next, the morning intentions. What's one hard truth I need to face today? How will I handle discomfort when it comes? Finally, quote reflection. Take a line from Epictetus. Say, first tell yourself what kind of person you want to be, then do what you have to do and ask, what's one action today that would prove I mean this? Here's the prompt most avoid. What's the truth I've been refusing to put on paper? Maybe it's a resentment you're nursing, a habit you pretend isn't harming you, or a dream you keep postponing with excuses. The page doesn't judge, it only reveals. As Seneca warned, every guilty person is their own hangman. But here's the flip side. Every honest sentence is a step toward freedom. Your journal isn't a trophy case for polished thoughts. It's a mirror, and when you stop flinching from what stares back, that's when real growth begins. Imagine waking up one day to find your entire nervous system wired to reject anything slightly unpleasant: cold water, hunger pangs, even minor inconveniences sparking frustration. This isn't dystopian fiction, it's the reality for many in our climate-controlled, on-demand world. The Stoics saw comfort differently, not as a luxury but as a trap. Cato the Younger, a senator known for his ironclad integrity, purposefully wore the same threadbare cloak in winter storms and scorching heat. When mocked, he replied, "If men can endure such words, why not such clothing?" His point: discomfort isn't the enemy, your fear of it is. Modern science backs this ancient wisdom. Stanford's famous marshmallow experiment revealed that children who tolerated delayed gratification grew into adults with higher resilience and success. Neuroscientists now know that voluntary discomfort like cold exposure or fasting triggers antifragility, where stress doesn't break you but builds you. Epictetus framed it as athletic training. Do you think you can be a philosopher without sweat? The road to freedom is uphill. Today's challenge is simple but radical. Pick one minor discomfort and lean into it. Skip the elevator and take the stairs. Turn your shower cold for the final 30 seconds. Leave your phone behind during lunch. These aren't punishments, they're rehearsals. When real hardship comes, and it always does, you won't panic. You'll remember, I've weathered worse by choice. The irony: avoiding discomfort shrinks your world, while seeking it expands your strength. As Seneca noted, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Your comfort zone isn't a safe haven, it's a cage with velvet bars. Step outside and suddenly, life's chaos feels less like a threat and more like terrain you're trained to cross. Lesson 8. Sympathia. The Stoic art of belonging. A single-degree shift in global temperature seems abstract until your hometown floods, or wildfire smoke turns the sky orange. Climate change isn't just an environmental crisis, it's the ultimate test of a 2,000-year-old Stoic principle called Sympathia, the profound recognition that we're threads in a living tapestry. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly: what injures the hive injures the bee. Yet modern life trains us to think like isolated fragments. Our ambitions, our feeds, our tiny bubbles of concern. The Stoics would have called this delusion the root of both inner turmoil and collective collapse. Enter Hierocles, a Stoic teacher who mapped out our moral responsibility like concentric ripples. Picture this: you stand at the center of a series of expanding circles. The innermost ring is your body and mind. The next holds family and friends, then community, country, and finally all humanity, even nature itself. The goal: not to erase your needs, but to gradually pull those outer circles inward, to treat strangers with the same kindness you'd show a sibling, and the planet with the care you'd give your own home. Here's the stark contrast. Today's algorithms reward outrage, division, and the cult of me first. The Stoics countered with a visceral metaphor. Imagine your hands suddenly refused to feed your mouth, or your legs rebelled against carrying your body. Absurd, right? Yet we do this daily, hoarding resources, ignoring suffering beyond our sightlines, acting as if our choices don't ripple outward. Marcus wrote in Meditations, "All things are interwoven and the bond is sacred." So here's today's challenge, one that bends ancient wisdom into modern action. Before you make any decision what to buy, how to vote, even what to post, ask, if all people were my limbs, would I do this? That extra steak, maybe it tastes good now, but would you feed your own arm carcinogens? That bitter online argument, would you pour acid on your hand to prove a point? Sympathia isn't about grand gestures, it's the cumulative power of small, awake choices. When a storm drowns a distant country or a war starves children you'll never meet, the Stoic response isn't helplessness, it's remembering these are your circles too. The climate won't heal because we fear punishment. It'll heal when we finally grasp Seneca's truth. nature bore us related to one another. She instilled in us a mutual love. The question isn't whether we're connected, it's whether we'll act like it before the threads unravel. Picture this: you're sitting in silence, eyes closed, focusing on your breath, only to realize your mind has been replaying an awkward conversation from 3 years ago. This is where most modern mindfulness advice stops. Just return to the breath, but the Stoics would call that half the battle. Their version of mindfulness wasn't passive awareness, it was active gatekeeping for your mind. Epictetus put it bluntly: the first thing is to guard the door of your mind. Imagine your thoughts as visitors knocking. You don't have to let everyone in, especially the ones carrying emotional torches. Compare that to today's attention economy, where apps are engineered to shatter focus with a Pavlovian ping. The average person checks their phone 96 times a day, not because they choose to, but because their impulses were hacked. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, warned about this 24 centuries early. The goal isn't to suppress emotions, but to ensure reason leads them, not the other way around. Here's how this works in real time. You're driving when someone cuts you off. Adrenaline spikes, your jaw clenches, but right there, in the half-second before you honk or curse, lies the Stoic pivot point. They called it the discipline of assent, the power to pause and ask, does this impression deserve my energy? That driver might be reckless, but your anger is optional. As Marcus Aurelius scribbled in his journal, "Today I escaped anxiety by noticing my thoughts rather than being owned by them. Try this today. Set a timer for 3 random intervals." When it chimes, audit your mental space. Are you ruminating on a slight from your boss, catastrophizing a future that hasn't happened? Each time, practice Zeno's pause. Is this thought useful, or is it mental noise? The real measure of mindfulness isn't how long you can meditate, it's how quickly you catch yourself before borrowing trouble. Because the mind, left unchecked, will turn a quiet moment into a battleground. And you're the guard at the gate. The business world erupted in 2013 when a little-known startup called Slack launched, not as the communication giant we know today, but as a failed video game. After burning through years of development, the team faced a brutal choice: collapse under the weight of their sunk costs or mine their disaster for hidden value. They chose the latter. Buried in their wreckage was an internal messaging tool their coders had built to stay organized. That pivot, from bankrupt game developers to revolutionizing workplace communication, wasn't just clever strategy. It was pure Stoicism in action. 2,000 years late to the party, Marcus Aurelius scribbled a line in his war tent that's since been borrowed by athletes, CEOs, and Navy SEAL. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He wasn't theorizing. During Rome's grueling Marcomannic Wars, supply lines collapsed, winter froze the Tiber, and plague decimated his troops. Yet his journals reveal no despair, just relentless reframing. The frost makes us tougher. Short rations teach efficiency. Each siege is a masterclass in logistics. Where others saw dead ends, Marcus saw detours leading precisely where he needed to go. This mindset flips victimhood on its head. Modern psychology calls it post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where people emerge from hardship stronger than before. Seneca phrased it more vividly: fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men. Not despite the fire, but because of it. Consider the difference. 2 employees face layoffs. One spirals into "why me?" The other asks, "What skills was this job shielding me from learning?" The obstacle is identical. The fuel is chosen. Here's your challenge today. Grab a notepad and sketch 3 columns. In the first, list a current frustration, a rejected proposal, a strained relationship, even a financial squeeze. In the middle, write how it's limiting you. Now the pivot. In the third column, answer, how could this force me to grow? Maybe that rejection frees you to explore a bolder idea. Maybe that argument reveals a boundary you've neglected. The Stoics didn't preach toxic positivity, they practiced creative pragmatism, as Epictetus put it. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Your obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're the raw material of your next breakthrough. The question isn't whether they'll come, it's whether you'll let them carve you or climb them. Lesson 11. Stoic Time Management, the Art of Owning Your Hours. A recent study found that 68% of professionals report feeling chronically time poor, overwhelmed by tasks yet undernourished by meaning. We're drowning in busyness bankruptcy, trading our most finite resource, time, for trivial pursuits we'd never list on a deathbed inventory. Seneca saw this coming 2 millennia ago. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Life is long if you know how to use it. The Stoics didn't just manage time, they redeemed it by distinguishing between two ancient Greek concepts, chronos and kairos. Chronos is clock time, the relentless march of meetings, commutes, and deadlines. Kairos is something deeper, the weighty, ripe moments that define a life, your child's laugh, a breakthrough idea, quiet awe at sunset. Modern life hijacks us with chronos while starving us of kairos. The fix, a ruthless audit. Ask yourself, if given the chance, would you relive last year exactly as it happened? If too many days blend into a forgettable haze, you've been robbed, not by time's scarcity, but by your own misplaced priorities. Musonius Rufus, the Stoic teacher who rivaled Epictetus in influence, was blunt. If you devote yourself to philosophy 1 hour daily, within a year you'll be untouchable by adversity. Note his precision, not mastery but immunity. Philosophy wasn't abstract pondering to the Stoics, it was applied wisdom, time spent sharpening your mind to cut through life's noise. 1 hour, that's 4% of your waking day. Yet how many lose that to autoplay binges or doom scrolling? Here's the challenge. Tomorrow, conduct a 1 hour time audit, but not just tracking tasks. Label each block as chronos maintenance or kairos meaning. Then ruthlessly protect 1 kairos slot for reading, creating, or connecting, as if it were a doctor's appointment with your future self. Seneca warned, you're living as if destined to live forever. Your own frailty never occurs to you. Time management isn't about efficiency, it's about sovereignty. Because the clock ticks whether you're present or not, the choice is yours. Will your hours slip like sand, or will you clutch each one like a gem? Lesson 12. The art of silence when words cost more than silence. The World Health Organization calls noise pollution a modern plague. Not just traffic and construction, but the endless chatter flooding our ears and screens. Average people now consume over 4 hours of media daily, yet struggle to sit quietly for 4 minutes. But the Stoics identified a deeper crisis, not the noise around us, but our addiction to adding to it. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, offered a timeless ratio. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. This wasn't just about manners, it was about mastery. Epictetus painted a vivid scene. At a banquet, don't discuss how people ought to eat, just eat as you ought. He was targeting a habit we now see daily on social media, the compulsion to narrate, judge, or correct instead of simply experiencing. Imagine scrolling past a sunrise photo only to stop and type. Actually, the colors aren't that vibrant in real life. Absurd, right? Yet we do this constantly, mistaking opinions for oxygen. Here's the Stoic test for selective speech. Before you speak or tweet or comment, ask 1. Is this true? 2. Is it necessary? 3. Is it kind? If any answer is no, silence isn't just golden, it's armor against regret. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Every word withheld from trivial disputes or performative outrage is energy saved for what truly matters." Try this today. Carry a small notebook. Each time you're tempted to voice an unnecessary opinion about someone's outfit, a coworker's mistake, even the weather, jot it down instead. By evening, review your list. How many of those words would have drained your peace or dignity? The Stoics didn't preach silence out of shyness, but because they knew speech is power, and power must be spent wisely. Social media trained us to confuse visibility with value, but as Seneca warned, no one wishes they'd spoken more at death. Your quietest moments often hold the most wisdom if you let them. The World Health Organization now ranks loneliness as a greater health risk than smoking or obesity, with 1 in 4 adults reporting they have no meaningful social connections. In an age where we can have thousands of friends online yet feel profoundly unseen, the Stoics offered a radical alternative, not more connections but better mirrors. Forget networking or follower counts. A Stoic friendship, as Cicero captured in his dialogue Laelius on friendship, was about mutual moral elevation, 2 people holding up lanterns to reveal each other's blind spots. Scipio Africanus, the general who defeated Hannibal, and his friend Laelius weren't bonded by gossip or convenience. Their letters reveal a relentless push toward excellence. In friendship, we see ourselves as we might become. Compare that to today's transactional bonds, relationships measured in likes, professional advantages, or who texts first. Seneca called these shadow friendships, writing, "What's the point of sitting together at table if we don't share the meal of wisdom?" The Stoics weren't against joy or camaraderie. They simply insisted that real friendship should stretch your soul, not just stroke your ego. Think of your own circle, who asks the uncomfortable questions that make you grow, who celebrates your virtues more than your victories. The litmus test is simple. After time with this person, do you feel inflated with shallow validation or quietly challenged to rise? Here's today's reckoning. Make a list of 5 people you interact with most. Next to each name, write whether they reflect your aspirational self, the person you're working to become, or merely your comfortable self. This isn't about cutting ties, but conscious cultivation. As Epictetus warned, you become who you spend time with. No one emerges unchanged from another's shadow. The cure for loneliness isn't more faces on a screen. It's finding those rare souls who help you meet your own potential. And sometimes that starts by becoming that friend first. Lesson 14. Handling criticism. The Stoic filter for feedback. You refresh your screen to find a notification. Your content is basic. Do better. The sting is instant. Your pulse quickens. Fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to fire back. But pause before you engage. Ask yourself this: would you let a stranger rearrange your furniture? Of course not. Then why let them rearrange your peace? The Stoics had a systematic approach to criticism, not as a threat, but as an opportunity to practice discernment. Marcus Aurelius offered a vivid metaphor. A fly on an ox thinks it steers the plow. That troll, that armchair critic, they may buzz loudly, but their words have no weight unless you grant it. Epictetus took it further. If someone speaks badly of you, remember, it's their voice, not your reality. Insults, he argued, are like coins, only valuable if you accept them. The Stoic secret isn't ignoring feedback, it's running it through a 3-part audit. 1. Is it true? Does the critique reveal a blind spot you've avoided? 2. Does the source matter? Would you take fashion advice from someone dressed in rags? 3. Can you act on it? If yes, improve. If no, discard. History's most transformative figures faced withering criticism. Lincoln was called a clown by newspapers. Marie Curie's Nobel Prize was dismissed as unfeminine. What set them apart wasn't immunity to criticism, it was their refusal to let it define their path. Here's the twist: the Stoics even practiced gratitude for critics, not as masochism but as training. A musician doesn't improve by only playing for adoring fans. Epictetus suggested treating detractors like sparring partners. Their jabs strengthen your resilience. Your challenge this week: thank one critic, not sarcastically but sincerely. Maybe they revealed a flaw you can fix. Maybe they simply reminded you that your worth isn't up for public vote. Either way, you win because their words only have the power you assign. As Marcus wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike your enemy, and the best defense, a mind so steady, insults slide off like rain from a stone. Criticism is inevitable. Letting it derail you, that's optional. The next time words try to wound you, remember, you hold the shield, not them. Lesson 15. Wealth without attachment, the Stoic art of holding lightly everywhere you look. People are quietly quitting not just jobs, but the endless chase for more. Minimalism trends surge, tiny homes sell out, yet the average credit card debt keeps climbing. This tension reveals a universal truth: we don't actually want less, we want freedom. The Stoics cracked this paradox centuries ago with a razor-sharp distinction: preferred indifference, wealth, status, comfort. They're neither good nor evil, but your relationship to them determines everything. Take Crassus, Rome's richest man, who allegedly said, "No one is wealthy enough to buy my deathbed," yet died chasing gold in a doomed military campaign. Contrast that with Cotto the Younger, who wore the same patched cloak for decades, not because he despised wealth, but because he refused to need it. Seneca put it bluntly: riches test character like a drunkard tests a ship's railing. The question isn't what you own, it's what owns you. Here's the litmus test. Imagine losing one possession you cherish: your home, your car, even your phone. Does the thought spark panic or curiosity? The Stoic practice isn't self-denial, it's detachment rehearsal. Epictetus, born into slavery, trained his students to handle fine silverware at dinner, then say calmly, "Tomorrow you may drink from a clay cup, and it will hold water just as well." Modern research echoes this. A Yale study found lottery winners often return to baseline happiness within a year, while those who cultivate internal resilience maintain it regardless of externals. Marcus Aurelius, ruling the world's wealthiest empire, slept on a military cot and wrote, "Very little is needed for true happiness, not none, very little." Today's challenge is visceral. Walk through your home and pick one object you like but don't need. Hold it and ask, if this vanished tomorrow, would my peace vanish with it? The goal isn't to live like a monk, it's to ensure your treasures don't turn into shackles, because as Seneca warned, it's not poverty that makes us miserable, it's the fear of poverty. And that fear, it's optional. Wealth is a tool, but freedom comes when you remember you were whole before you owned it, and you'll be whole if it's gone. Lesson 16. Stoic decision-making, the checklist that cuts through chaos. A study from Columbia University found the average adult makes over 35,000 decisions daily, from what to eat to which email to answer first. By nightfall, our willpower resembles a drained battery, leaving us vulnerable to impulsive choices or paralyzing overanalysis. The Stoics had a cure for this modern epidemic long before it had a name. Prosach, a deliberate pause to ask 3 questions before any choice. Is this just? Is this courageous? Is this temperate? Picture this. You're offered a high-paying job that conflicts with your values. Maybe the company cuts ethical corners, or the role demands compromises you're not proud of. The modern reflex: weigh salary against commute time. The Stoic response: Epictetus's role ethics. Consider who you are, a human being carrying the dignity of reason. Does this align with that? Your career isn't just a ladder, it's a reflection of your character. Every decision either polishes that reflection or cracks it. Marcus Aurelius modeled this daily. Before signing decrees, he'd step back and ask, does this serve Rome or just my ego? Not, is this profitable or will I look weak? But is this worthy of me? That subtle shift from external rewards to internal integrity changes everything. Here's the experiment. Today, delay one decision, whether it's saying yes to a project or snapping at a colleague. In that pause, run the Stoic checklist. Justice: does this harm or help others? Courage: am I choosing comfort over growth? Temperance: is this driven by reason or impulse? You'll find some choices evaporate under scrutiny, others grow clearer. As Seneca noted, every decision plants a seed of who you become. The goal isn't perfection, it's waking up tomorrow without regrets whispering in your ear. Because decision fatigue doesn't come from how many choices you face, it comes from forgetting why they matter. Your turn. Pick one crossroads today, then ask not just what do I gain, but who do I become? That's the Stoic edge, making fewer decisions but better ones. Here's your next segment, crafted to flow naturally from the previous lessons while maintaining fresh energy and depth. Traffic psychologists report that nearly 80% of drivers admit to aggressive behaviors behind the wheel: tailgating, yelling, even physical confrontations over parking spots. What starts as a honk can escalate into a full-blown rage spiral in seconds. But here's what most miss: anger isn't an inevitable reaction. It's a failure of reason, according to the Stoics, one that hands control of your mind to whoever provoked you. Seneca, who wrote an entire treatise on anger, called it temporary madness, and like any madness, it thrives on immediacy. His antidote was disarmingly simple: delay. When insulted, he'd imagine counting to 24 before responding, not to suppress emotion, but to let reason re-enter the room. Modern neuroscience confirms this. The amygdala's anger flare lasts just 6 seconds unless fueled. Picture this: a coworker takes credit for your idea in a meeting. Your face flushes, hands clench, but instead of firing back, you silently recite, "This too shall pass." By the time you reach pass, the impulse to lash out often does. Marcus Aurelius took it further with what we'll call the smallness lens: how trivial the things we want so passionately are. Next time anger bubbles up, pull back mentally. That person who cut in line in a century, both of you will be dust. The rude email, a speck in your lifespan. This isn't dismissive, it's liberating. As Marcus reminded himself, pain is pain, but suffering is optional. Consider the customer service meltdown, an archetype of wasted energy. Someone screams at a barista over a wrong order, filming their righteous outrage for likes. The Stoic sees the tragedy: they've traded their dignity for a latte. Seneca observed, "No tree takes root in anger." Translation: nothing built from fury lasts. Your challenge this week: carry a notepad and track anger triggers for 3 days. Not just the big explosions, the subtle irritations, eye rolls at slow walkers, muttered curses at tech glitches. Then apply Seneca's pause, wait 24 breaths before reacting. You'll discover most provocations aren't worth your peace, and those that are, they'll get clearer action from your calm self than your furious one. Anger feels powerful in the moment, but true strength lies in the quiet space between trigger and response, where Stoics plant their flag. This segment opens with a hard statistic to ground the lesson in modern relevance, positions anger as a choice, not an inevitability per Stoic doctrine, integrates Seneca's delay tactic with contemporary science, uses Marcus' smallness lens to reframe provocations, includes a relatable customer service scenario, ends with a practical, trackable challenge, avoids repetitive phrasing or predictable structure. Let me know if you'd like any refinements to tone or pacing. Lesson 18. The discipline of desire, breaking the chains of craving. You've seen the headlines: dopamine detox, a digital fasting. Millions are waking up to the uncomfortable truth: our brains have been hacked by endless scrolls, autoplay, and push notifications. But this isn't just a modern crisis. 2,000 years ago, Epictetus warned, freedom isn't secured by filling your coffers, but by emptying your cravings. The Stoics didn't villainize desire itself, they mapped it like careful cartographers, dividing needs into two territories: natural desires, food, shelter, purpose, and vain desires, fame, luxury, constant stimulation. One sustains life, the other drains it. Here's where things get provocative. The Epicureans, often mislabeled as hedonists, actually agreed with the Stoics on this. They too preached moderation, but with a key difference: pleasure is the absence of pain. For them, a simple meal satisfied just as much as a feast. The Stoics took it further. Pleasure isn't the goal, it's a byproduct of living with virtue. Imagine two people eating bread. One craves truffles and resents their meal, the other savors each bite as fuel for their purpose. Same bread, worlds apart in freedom. Now zoom to today. Your phone pings with a sale for shoes you don't need. Your thumb hovers. Just a quick look, that microsecond of hesitation. That's the Stoic crossroads. Epictetus called these chains of craving, not because owning things is wrong, but because needing them enslaves you. Modern research confirms this. MRI scans show that anticipating a reward, like a like or a package arrival, spikes dopamine higher than receiving it. We're not chasing happiness, we're chasing the chase. So here's the uncomfortable audit. What unnatural desire did you feed today? Was it refreshing your likes every 5 minutes? Coveting a colleague's promotion, that extra drink when one would suffice? Don't moralize, just notice. The Stoic practice isn't austerity, it's sovereignty. Seneca wrote, "Poverty is wanting much, not having little." Try this tonight before bed. Tally 3 natural desires you met: nourishment, learning, connection, and one vain craving you indulged. No shame, just awareness. Over time, you'll spot the pattern. The moments you feel most alive rarely involve a screen, a shopping cart, or external validation. Your desires aren't your enemies, but left untrained, they'll run your life like a tyrant. The discipline isn't in denying wants, it's in choosing which ones deserve your allegiance. Because, as Marcus Aurelius whispered to himself at dawn, you own what you can walk away from. Here's your next segment, crafted with fresh energy while maintaining the established flow. Lesson 19. Stoic sleep, reclaiming the night. Neuroscientists warn that losing just 90 minutes of sleep for a single night cuts daytime alertness by nearly a third, equivalent to being legally drunk in some countries. Yet we trade rest for revenge, bedtime procrastination, binge watching, or doom scrolling through highlight reels of lives we don't live. The Stoics saw sleep differently, not as downtime but as sacred preparation for the day ahead. Marcus Aurelius, who governed an empire by day and slept on a military cot by night, wrote, "Life is a brief candle, don't burn it at both ends for shadows." Ancient Stoic knights weren't passive, they followed a disciplined trifecta. 1. Review, a frank inventory of the day's wins and missteps, not self-flagellation but course correction. Where did I act out of fear instead of courage? 2. Release, symbolically surrendering tomorrow's worries by writing them down, then closing the scroll, literally letting go. 3. Prepare, laying out tomorrow's tools, physical and mental, like a general readying for battle. Contrast that with modern pre-sleep sabotage, glowing screens flooding our brains with cortisol, notifications hijacking our final thoughts, or worse, lying awake rehearsing arguments we'll never have. Epictetus nailed it. The mind disturbed by passions is like a torch waved violently, it sees nothing clearly. Tonight, try this instead. The 10-3-1 method. 10 minutes reviewing today with Seneca's question, what did I make better? 3 minutes jotting down unresolved tensions, then physically tucking them away in a drawer. 1 minute of pre-sleep stillness, eyes closed, focusing on breath like a gentle tide washing debris from shore. Here's the piercing question, what unfinished business steals your rest? Is it an apology unspoken, a task half done, or simply the illusion that tomorrow's demands can be solved tonight? The Stoic fix isn't more hours asleep, it's fewer waking hours wasted on mental clutter. As you turn off the lights, remember Seneca's reminder: night was meant for rest, not regret, because tomorrow isn't just another day, it's the only day you can actually live. Key features: opens with a startling scientific fact to ground the lesson, contrasts ancient rituals with modern pitfalls using vivid imagery, provides a clear, actionable 10-3-1 framework, ends with a reflective prompt rather than summary, avoids overused phrases like "in today's world," or, as we've seen, maintains warmth while delivering authority, e.g., piercing question vs. clinical interrogation. Let me know if you'd like adjustments to pacing or emphasis. Lesson 20. Political Serenity: How to Care Without Losing Yourself Every Morning. Millions wake up and reach for their phones like a reflex, checking headlines, bracing for outrage, steeling themselves for the next crisis. The cycle repeats until the day ends with clenched jaws and doom scrolling through takes that make sleep impossible. The Stoics faced their own version of this tyrant's wars, corruption, yet emerged with minds intact. Not by disengaging, but by refining how they engaged. Take Thracia, the senator who resisted Nero's madness without becoming its mirror. While others flattered the emperor or plotted violent coups, Thracia chose a third path. He attended meetings only when his absence would embolden evil, voted his conscience without grandstanding, and when silence became complicity, walked away entirely. Tacitus recorded his final act. Surrounded by armed guards, Thracia turned to his friend and said, "Look how a free man dies. No riots, no revenge, just integrity that outlived Nero's reign." This is the Stoic tightrope, caring deeply about the world while refusing to let it dictate your inner weather. Epictetus, enslaved under a brutal regime, put it plainly: you're not responsible for the play, just your part in it. Your part might be voting local, mentoring kids, or simply refusing to spread venom online. But here's the litmus test: did your last political action come from love for what you protect or hatred for what you oppose? One builds, the other burns you from the inside. Modern research confirms this divide. A Yale study found that activists motivated by compassion sustained their efforts longer and reported higher well-being than those fueled by anger. The Stoics would have nodded. Anger, even at injustice, clouds judgment. Principle, however, endures. So tonight, try Thracia's audit. 1. What's one issue where your engagement feels frantic rather than fruitful? 2. Is your energy going toward planting or uprooting? 3. If you disappeared tomorrow, would your community miss your contribution or just your complaints? Political serenity isn't apathy. It's the realization that changing the world starts with mastering your own reactions. As Marcus Aurelius scribbled between battles, the best way to avenge yourself is to refuse to become like your enemy. Keep your hands clean, your voice clear, and your soul intact. The world needs that more than another furious echo. Lesson 21. Grief as a Teacher: The Stoic Art of Sacred Sorrow. Modern therapy apps promise to fix grief in 7 days. Self-help bestsellers push closure like a deadline to meet. Even well-meaning friends rush to cheer us with "they wouldn't want you to be sad." But the Stoics dared to ask, what if grief isn't a problem to solve, but a masterclass in love's depth? Seneca, consoling his friend Marcia after she lost her son, didn't offer platitudes. He wrote, "Let your tears flow, but let them also cease. Let sighs escape you, but let them find an end." Not no sorrow, but sorrow with purpose. Here's the paradox: we'll spend hours preparing for job interviews or vacations, yet treat loss like a surprise ambush. The Stoics prepared for grief long before it arrived, not with cold detachment, but by rehearsing impermanence. Marcus Aurelius meditated daily on nature's cycles. Fruit falls to make room for new growth. Stars die to birth nebulas. Your turn will come, so love fiercely while you can. This wasn't morbid, it was liberation. When we stop pretending permanence exists, every ordinary moment becomes sacred. Compare that to today's move-on culture, where mourning is treated like a glitch in productivity. Social media memorials double as performance, the right photo, the perfect caption, while real sorrow gets buried under "stay strong." Demands, the Stoics would have called this denial packaged as virtue. True strength, letting loss carve you deeper instead of rushing to plaster the cracks. Seneca's letter to Marcia holds a key. What fortune has made yours is not yours forever, only your courage in bearing it. Grief isn't the enemy of joy, it's the shadow proving light existed. This week's practice cuts against the grain. Write a thank you letter to a loss, not for the pain but for what it revealed, your capacity to love, your hidden resilience, the priorities it clarified. Address it to a person, a dream, even a version of yourself you've outgrown. Example: thank you, Dad, for leaving those unfinished woodworking projects in the garage. Every time I see them, I remember you taught me to love the process, not just the product. I'm building my own now, messy, imperfect, alive. The Stoics didn't worship suffering. They simply refused to let it be wasted. As Marcus wrote, the oak tree's roots grow deepest where the wind hits hardest. Your sorrows aren't interruptions to life, they're the curriculum. And the lessons, they're yours to carry forward tenderly, like embers that still warm your hands long after the fire burns low. Lesson 22. Stoic travel. The journey within. The average traveler checks their phone 150 times a day, even on vacation. We race from landmark to landmark, snapping photos we'll rarely revisit, while our minds buzz with the same anxieties we left behind. This is tourism at its emptiest, changing locations without changing perspectives. The Stoics drew a stark line between those who simply move through places and those who let places move them, between tourists and travelers. Seneca exposed this illusion in a letter to his friend Lucilius. You're mistaken if you think fresh scenery will cure your restlessness. The soul carries its defects everywhere. He wasn't condemning travel, he was warning against using it as escape. Picture two people standing at the Grand Canyon. One scrolls TripAdvisor for the next activity while muttering about spotty Wi-Fi. The other stands silent, feeling time's vastness erode their petty worries like sandstone underwater. Same view, different voyages. Epictetus, exiled from Rome as a child, turned displacement into wisdom. If you ever find yourself longing for distant lands, remember, no place grants freedom except your own mind. His exile wasn't a punishment, it was proof that inner liberty needs no passport. Centuries later, neuroscientists would confirm this. Novelty rewires the brain, but only if we're present enough to absorb it. Here's the twist: you don't need a plane ticket to practice Stoic travel. Every morning offers a frontier, the stranger on your commute, the overlooked park bench, even the rhythm of your breath. The real voyage begins when you trade sightseeing for sight deepening. This week, unpack your mental baggage before reaching for your phone in a new place, whether a foreign city or your local cafe. Ask 1. What would I notice here if this were my only day on Earth? 2. How does this scene mirror an inner landscape I've neglected? 3. What invisible walls have I built that no mileage can break? Travel doesn't transform us by stretching our route, but by stretching our attention. As Marcus Aurelius wrote between battles on the Germanic front, nowhere can you find a quieter retreat than in your own soul. The most meaningful journeys aren't measured in miles, but in moments you return from less burdened than when you left. Your suitcase may hold clothes, but your mind carries the weight. Lighten it, and every step becomes a homecoming. Lesson 23. Digital Stoicism. Reclaiming your attention in an age of distraction. Screen time reports don't lie. The average person spends over 4 years of their waking life scrolling, swiping, and refreshing. But here's the uncomfortable truth: your phone isn't the problem. The real issue lies in how you relate to it. The Stoics made a critical distinction between the mastery of tools, and slavery to them. Epictetus, who lived in an era without algorithms, still nailed our modern dilemma. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Swap wealth for attention, and the lesson clicks. Freedom isn't deleting your apps, it's dismantling the need to check them. Seneca witnessed a precursor to modern social media in Roman dinner parties, where elites networked for status instead of connection. He called it crowded solitude, surrounded by people yet starved of meaning. Fast forward to today, hundreds of friends, yet loneliness at record highs. Musonius Rufus sliced deeper. Useless chatter doesn't just waste time, it erodes the soul. Imagine applying that filter to your next scroll. Is this feed filling your mind or fragmenting it? The irony: technology itself is neutral. Marcus Aurelius used writing, the disruptive tech of his day, to craft journals that outlived empires. The difference? Intent. He wielded the tool, he didn't let it wield him. Neuroscientists now confirm what the Stoics sensed. Every ping hijacks your focus like a tiny trauma, leaving your brain in a state of chronic alertness. The cost isn't just time, it's your capacity for deep thought, creativity, and even compassion. Here's the challenge: analog mornings. For 1 hour after waking, treat your devices like a Stoic treats luxury, useful if chosen, oppressive if demanded. Brew tea without filming it, journal on paper, walk without earbuds. You'll discover something radical. Silence isn't empty, it's the space where your finest ideas emerge. Digital Stoicism isn't about rejection, it's about reclamation. As Seneca wrote, "No one is poor who can find quiet in a crowd. Your attention is the last truly scarce resource." Guard it like a general guarding the gates, because every distraction isn't just stealing minutes, it's stealing you. Lesson 24. The Stoic Legacy. What outlives you? History remembers Cotto the Younger not for how he lived, but for how he chose to die. Surrounded by Caesar's troops, his republic in ruins, he refused surrender, not out of defiance but integrity. His final act, reading Plato's Phaedo on immortality before falling on his sword. To the Stoics, death wasn't an end, it was the ultimate test of character. Centuries later, his story still asks us, what will your life demand of you when nothing remains but the principle you stand on? This brings us full circle. From Memento Mori, remember you must die, to its life-affirming twin, Memento Viva, remember to live. The paradox: embracing mortality isn't about obsessing over the end, it's about clarifying what deserves your limited days. Marcus Aurelius framed it poetically: leave the feast as gracefully as you entered it, not clinging to extra helpings, not storming off in protest, but rising with gratitude when your time comes. Legacy isn't about monuments or Wikipedia pages. It's the quiet imprint you leave on those you've touched, the way a friend still hears your voice when they face a tough choice, or how a stranger carries your kindness forward unknowingly. Consider Seneca's words: what matters isn't how long you live, but how fully. Sometimes a single hour can hold more life than decades. So here's the final audit. If someone discovered your private journals years from now, what would they learn? Not the polished highlights you post online, but the raw truths you tell yourself at dawn. Would they find resentment or resilience, excuses or ownership? The answer lies less in what you want to be remembered for, and more in what you practice daily. Stoicism's gift isn't a checklist for perfection, it's a compass for alignment. Every lesson we've explored, from Amor Fati to digital detachment, points to one question: are you living in a way that would make your future self proud? Not a future of fame or fortune, but one where your inner citadel stands unshaken by storms. As you close this chapter, carry forward not just the teachings, but the spirit behind them. The world will keep spinning long after we're gone, but the way we spin within it, that's entirely ours to shape. So tonight, light a candle, toast the feast of your life, however long or short. And when the time comes, may you rise from the table satisfied, leaving no scraps of regret on your plate, because a life lived awake, with clear eyes and an untamed heart, never truly ends. It echoes. After 24 lessons weaving through ancient wisdom and modern chaos, a pattern emerges, one the Stoics knew all along. The art of thriving isn't about conquering the world, but mastering 3 inner pillars. Control, knowing where your power truly lies. Perspective, seeing obstacles as opportunities in disguise. And action, aligning your choices with your character, no matter the storm. This isn't emotionless grit, it's the opposite. As Seneca wrote, resilience isn't breaking like brittle stone under pressure, it's bending like a reed, its strength concealed in its flexibility. Picture a team of wild horses. Left untrained, their power is chaotic, even destructive, but harnessed with skill, they become unstoppable. Your emotions, your attention, your reactions, they're those horses. Stoicism doesn't chain them, it trains them to carry you further. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire with this clarity. Epictetus endured slavery with it. And you navigate traffic jams, inbox avalanches, and life's curveballs with the same tools. Here's where philosophy meets pavement. Pick one lesson, just one, to live with for the next 7 days. Maybe it's the morning journal audit or the pause before reacting to criticism. Perhaps it's the view from above when trivial frustrations arise. Don't just ponder it, engrave it into your days like Musonius Rufus carving wisdom into his students. Then watch what happens. As Epictetus promised, first say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. The comments are open. Which lesson spoke to you? Where did you stumble, and where did you find unexpected strength? Because wisdom, like fire, spreads when shared. Your story might be the spark someone else needs to light their own way. The feast of life is served. However you choose to partake, may you leave no room for regret, only the quiet certainty that you lived, not just passed through. The rest, that's up